Hello class, I wanted to give you a tutorial on creating templates in Dreamweaver. So what this tutorial is going to do is show you what I would think would be the most useful way to incorporate a template into your design, and also a simple way to do it. Now what I want you to do is watch this tutorial, and if it's something that you think that you're going to be using, then refer to your book and ask me more questions about it. Because to me, this is something that I want to cover, but I don't think you'll use it a whole lot. It works well if you have a really large website, 20, 30 pages. A site that is going to still be a static site where you update each page individually, but it's not quite big enough to use like a database backend, or you don't know how to do the database, and the PHP script and all that. You just want to make a standard website, but it's a little larger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this Impala website right here. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it. So that's one tip that I would recommend is if you're going to be practicing on this stuff and you get a site the way you want it, just duplicate these sites, and then you'll be able to practice on them without ruining them. Okay, so you remember this site, this was from a couple weeks ago, just a simple website where you've got a CSS layout and you got a little CSS menu. So let's turn this into a template. So usually what I do is I start with a website and create the template from that website. So let's first of all, before we do that, let's look at the file new in Dreamweaver one more time. So file new. Now you've got options here. Now there's a lot more options than we have covered, but 90% of the time, when people use Dreamweaver, you're just going to be using editing for HTML, CSS, uploading, putting everything together. You do have a lot of different options for programming language, so if you are more on the developer website or developer side of things, there are options for you here. Okay, with the regular layouts, there's also the HTML template option if you want to generate your template from scratch. There's a blank template, which includes HTML, but also other script language as well. There's fluid grid layout, which I'm going to cover in another tutorial for you probably next week. And there's page from template, if you already have a page created or a template created somewhere, which we're going to create that. So I've got my website open, my index file, and I'm going to do a file save as template. So most of the time, I'm just doing what I have used in the past. I use this for a company that I used to work for. This, I think, is fairly effective the way that I'm showing you. But again, it's one of those things that you're probably not going to use that often, but it's good to know how to do it. So I start with my website already created. I'll do a file save as template. Okay, now we want to say, where do we want to save this? Well, let's save it in CSS practice. No templates in there. If you want to put a name for it, like Impala template, that's fine. So make sure you save it into your website folder though, and click save. Okay, now in this case, if it asks you to update links, I would go ahead and rely on updating the links in Dreamweaver. So click save or click yes. Okay, so we have this as a template. Now how do you know it's a template? Well, check out the name, impalatemplate.dwt. Okay, so that means that this is now a template. It does not have any region that is editable right now, meaning you can't do anything with it, but it does exist. Now, and actually what I did was I saved it into the main site folder, so it's saved back here in this templates folder, impalatemplate.dwt. So what are you going to do with it? Well, what I would do is to define a region that you want to be able to edit. So let's say that I'm going to generate 5 pages from this template, but each page is going to have some different content where this picture of this car is. So I'll go ahead and delete this picture here, and I'm going to say, this is my general layout, so I like that layout. And I'm going to select this area right here where this content is. This division tag that's called photo. So I select that tag. So you want to select the area that you want to be able to edit from page to page. Okay, and then you want to go to Insert, Template Objects, and Editable Region. Now again, I'm not going to go over every single option for these templates. because the book does talk about those. I just want to give you the way that I think is easiest to use these templates. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that main content area where that picture was, and I'm turning that into the only editable region for this particular site. So I'll go ahead and click it. And it's going to ask me what I want to call it. I'll just call it, main content, and click OK. And you'll see there's a little green thing right there. It says main content. And go ahead and save that. Alright, let's go ahead and just so you can see how you generate the pages based on this template, let's just close this completely. And let's do a file new. And then let's see, you can see this option, the fourth one down on the left hand side. Again, this is Dreamweaver CS6. You may have an older version, but I think these templates work the same in pretty much any version. So I'll click Page from Template, and then make sure your website is selected and your template should show up. Now if your template doesn't show up, it probably means that you didn't save it into the correct website that you're working on, or you didn't save it as an actual template. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click Impala Template and click Create. Alright, now here's the essence of what a template does. You can click in this area that says Main Content, and you can add content. So I can click Add my content for the home page right here. Okay, so add the content for the home page right here. But check this out. When I move my mouse over the top, I get that little slash through it, meaning I can't touch that area. So that's part of the main template. So that comes in handy if you have to turn the site over to somebody and you want to set it up in a template so that it's easy for them to update. It also comes in handy if you have a site that has, say, 20-30 pages and you want to use just one main file for it and update it all at the same time. Usually you won't have to do that, and it gets a little more complicated. It's not worth the time to fool with these templates. If your site is pretty small, 5-10 pages, just use the same layout for each page. Make sure you get the layout the way you want it though, or else you have to go back to each individual page and change it. But in this particular case, using a template for a large website might work. One thing you have to check out obviously is like you can't make any changes to the menu on each page here. So you couldn't do like a highlight or something to tell which page you're on. You'd have to do that with page titles. So let's save this. So I'll do a file save, and then what I would probably recommend is that you save that into the templates folder. So save your new website into that templates folder. That's just the easiest to make sure your links are working correctly. So I would save that as index and click save. You could save it into an outside folder. Sometimes the links get a little bit tricky. For example, this folder right here with the template in it, or the templates folder with the template, the links are referencing this Impala site that I copied back here. Okay, so I just copied that. So it may have been better to save that back in this folder, save the template back in that folder, but it's always going to generate this templates folder. So as I recall, sometimes the links can get a little confusing on these templates. But you may just, if you're going to use this for real, for a client or for your own website, experiment with it, save it like I did and see if that works better. Or you may have to save it into your original website folder. But what's going to happen here is if I were to upload this website, I'd have to make sure that I upload this Impala copy site, and then the images would work correctly. So I'll show you the template, the links on that in just a second. So anyway, that's the one thing that I remember that can be a hassle with these templates. Sometimes the links get messed up with them. So I've got the index.html file, and then I can continue generating pages based on that template. So I would do a file new, and again, page from template, Impala template, create, and you can probably guess what this one would be. I'll do a file save or save as, either one, and this one would be specifications. I'll just call it specs, click save, and now I would have this area where I could type in the content. Now if I open the template back up, let me double click on template. Let's say I just take this image out so you can see what happens. I'll delete it. Maybe I got a new image and I want to put that in there. I could paste it right there or put it right there. I will go ahead and save, and then here's what happens. Update template files. It asks you, do you want to update every single file based on this template? So in this case, that's the purpose of a template, so you would click update. Okay. And then it tells you I've updated the files. Close that. Come back here. The image is gone on specs and it's gone on HTML. So that is exactly how template works. That is as simple as I can possibly make it. You could generate 10, 20 pages based on that template, and then when you go back and change that template, they all change. So it does have some interesting aspects to it, but in general, I think you probably don't need it unless you're doing a really large website, because you have to go back and you have to make all these areas editable where you want your content, and sooner or later you get to a point where you can't make the site or make one of the pages look correctly, and then you have to do that page individually, not based on a template. You could go back and make the menu editable if you wanted, and then just the structure, the division structure would be the part of the template, but everything else you could edit on each page. So a lot of options for you here. One thing I'll check real fast is on the impalatemplate.dwt. Go into the code, check some of the links. Let's see, they actually would be, okay, here's a link. This is not good practice what I'm showing you here, but I'm pointing it out at least. I should have renamed that folder to something simpler with no spaces, all lowercase, and I probably should have moved these links around a little bit so I don't have to put the .. that moves it up a directory into this Impala. But it's going to work as long as I upload this Impala folder into the same folder or the same location as where my templates folder is. Of course, that may change. You may have to change it around to get the link the way you want it, but it would work. So again, going back to saving as a template, you may want to save it into your main site folder instead, but Dreamweaver is always going to generate this templates folder from what I understand. There may be a setting in there to change, but that's probably going to be generated automatically. So, and also if you go into the CSS, you can see that that's the CSS that it's working on, so that pertains to this particular template. If you change this CSS, it's going to automatically, and save it, it'll automatically change the CSS link to these other HTML pages because they're based off of that template. So that's your tutorial on using Dreamweaver templates based on an existing website. That's as simple as I can make it, creating the template from that home page and then adding in one editable region, which is that main content area. So what we did here back on the template, we went to this main region right here, selected that division tag. Very important that you select the appropriate division tag. If I accidentally selected this whole container, that would make the entire thing editable. But I selected this main division tag where the content goes, and I did the insert template objects editable region. There are optional and repeating ones. You can check the book out for more about that if you end up using this. And then I went and did a file new, and I generated those new pages from this template, Impala template, create. Then you got to save these pages as your individual files, and then you can only get in here and add to this main content because that's your editable region. You cannot touch this area. To make any change to that area, you got to go back to the DWT. Notice I deleted the title. When I deleted the title and saved it, it automatically updated the HTML files. So that's it for this tutorial on Dreamweaver templates.